I call myself the wanderer because even on the websites of Amazon, we get lost, and that's what I have done it most often in the Amazon. I've been going there for many, many years, and through this, um, I have got lost many times. But there have been very sweet moments too, and it's a vast landscape, I must tell. You know, I was born on the banks of River Kaveri, and for me that was intimidating. But when I landed in the Amazon, it was like I was a kid wandering in the Disney world, literally. Uh, Belém, um, I'll pass you through a few slides. Belém in the eastern Brazilian Amazonia is the gateway to the Amazon. I don't know how many of you have heard of this. I know recently there was World Cup and most cities in Brazil have become very synonymous for people. And for those of you who haven't followed the football or the mavericks of some of these Brazilian footballers, Belém is the gateway. It's more like Chennai, I would say, you know, a lot of historic buildings and very interesting city. And then you continue forward. It's easy to get lost, and it takes anywhere to anywhere at least 24 hours. You can be on the river for 24 hours to get to a close, intimate part of Amazon. You can see the wildlife, you can see the vegetation, you can see tall trees. Much of my work was in the deep heart of the Amazon, and some parts of the Amazon was where no human had ever placed his foot, really. Just to think of it, Amazon has been researched for over 150 years. Literally, there's a good bit of documentation on the Amazon, and still there are parts of Amazon where no human has ever traced it. And that's the beauty of that fascinating place. Through this, I have spent quite a bit of time. I have traveled from west to east and traveled the length and breadth of the Amazon River and seen quite a bit of wildlife and met a lot of folks, spent a lot of time with them. I have had pretty intimidating encounters in the wildlife. I have survived. I have got many interesting stories behind it. But one interesting story that I always cherish through my journeys, of course, that's what Diaries is all about, I suppose. I was working in the mouth of the Amazon River, a place called Chaves. Very small, tiny little village, literally. About 100 families and surrounded by nature and close to the mouth of the river. And sometimes the water can just gush up all the way to the boundaries of the inhabitants. And I was there for 5 days, and as you may all know, the water in the Amazon is really 200 kilometers deep, literally. The water is very sweet, but yet there are traces of both the ocean wildlife and the river wildlife combining in that place, and that's the beauty of that place. And I was there for 5 days, and as you can see in some of my slides, I don't know if it's not running, I'm sorry. So what do you all cherish? You know, after all, when we travel, we want to eat, definitely, right? We all want to survive, we all want to eat, and we want to enjoy the local delicacies. And the local delicacy in Amazon is piranhas. So people fish. People literally do spear fishing. And when you are with the locals, it's so fun, so much fun. They just go in the late evenings and go with spear fishing and catch it, and then they make a good meal of it. Unfortunately, you know, I'm a typical South Indian guy. Never got a feel of it. And you know, I've traveled quite a bit, and often my friends have asked, how do you survive? I really have no answer to it. Really have no answer to it, because I have remained a vegetarian, eating roots and shoots and trees and plants. And well, I always give an example, you know, elephants do survive. So, however they do. So, I have never eaten a fish, meat. You know, in Brazil, if you don't eat meat, it's almost impossible to survive. Their breakfast is meat, their lunch is meat, their dinner is meat, their snack is meat. And I have many friends there, and they always joke, If eating beef in Brazil was a sin, every Brazilian would be a sinner by now. So much of that they eat. But I survived, I was there and I somehow made myself comfortable in the best way I can. There were days when I could just drink some hot water and, you are so enthusiastic in a place where that you don't know anything and you mingle with the people. I have no idea of the language that they spoke. I don't even know what they were, whether teasing me or they were laughing at me or they were just making a mockery of me for whoever I was. And one fine day, I was about to leave this small little village, and I was on the jetty, and it was about 9 o'clock in the night, and there was this small boat that came. And there, if you all remember old days, about 10 years, 15 years ago, if anybody had traveled by buses from intercity buses, we would all run to the bus and put a kerchief or a towel next to the window to reserve our seat. If anybody can really recall that. And in Brazil, the first thing you do is when the boat comes, you just run with a hammock and tie it to the 2 hooks. That's your seat reserved. So if you have a hammock and you always have a hammock, that's your sleeping bed. So you sleep on a hammock and tie it to the 2 hooks, and that's your reserved place. And I was a little slow, and I got a place somewhere in the back corner of the boat where the engine noise was so heavy and all drunkards go. In Brazil, drinking is a social habit. So it's actually, beer is much cheaper than water. So it was about 9:30, and we were about 6 of us, and we were about to leave, and then suddenly there was this lot of enthusiastic, farewell parties and people there. And as I said, beer is a very common drink in Brazil, and we all poured ourselves on enough beer. There was this one old lady who came to the jetty, and I was observing what she was doing. It's a very tiny village, as I said, about 100, 150 families. Then she was just looking at me, and we had eye contact, and I looked at her, she looked at me, and then we were just few minutes away, and suddenly she came forward and forward and forward. She was literally more than 80 years. And then my friend said, there's something she is trying to convey, and we are not able to understand what it is. And one of them spoke a bit of Portuguese. I have no idea of Portuguese, really. The only thing I know is I'll say later. And then this guy went and asked, and she said, and she pointed out at me, and I want him. So I said, and then I stepped forward, and I humbly bowed to her. She's an elderly lady, and I bowed to her, and she gave me a small packet, literally, a small packet wrapped in kind of a small loin cloth kind of thing. And it was well wrapped, and she came, and she was almost haunching like this, and she gave it to me, and she said something in Portuguese. It's not even hard Portuguese, it's some kind of a local dialect in the Amazon lingo. And she conveyed it to her, my folks, saying that this is for him and none of you should take it. I was pretty curious what that could be. And we got into the boat, and after a few hours, everybody was curious. What is that? What did you get from, none of us got anything, what did you get it? And then it was already like 11:30, and in Brazil, as soon as you get it, the first thing you do is drink a beer. So they don't know anything else to do, and we got in, and about 11:30, 11:40, I was asleep, and we had a next day early morning, we had another flight to catch, and we were already tired. Almost 15 days working in the Amazon is quite tiring. But I opened it, and the gift that I got was a papaya. To me, I feel that she was observing me every day I was there, and I was having a hard time with my food. And she has kept that in mind, and she thought that I was going to have a much more harder time as I travel further. And since I was a vegetarian, which is a non-existent thing in Brazil, literally nobody knows what do you call a vegetarian, really. They don't even know the language. And that papaya was so sweet, I should say that. And to me, I feel this is what travel is all about.